Testing 1 2 3. How you doing, everybody? Welcome. Kind of country western Tuesday vibey, maybe. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. I'm the American Anchor Baby. We're gonna get started here in a minute or two. We're just welcoming all of our folks across the streams. No data. Hold on. Am I streaming, folks? Yeah, I think we're live, but it says no data. What's going on? Amazing. How you doing, Mark? Cloud Bop's alias name, Steven. How you doing, Karen, Francisco, Carmick Bindon? Welcome, everybody. My folks on rumble.com/American Anchor Baby. And, of course, punchy.tv/Anchor Baby. Appreciate everybody tuning in. What's up, Nugget Man? What's up? Welcome. Mr. Pink Dormo. Okay. I think we got it all going. It's pretty much time to get going here. And of course, we'll have calls.
You are connected as the host.
Beautiful. 844-900-2229. You know the deal. All right, folks, what can I say? Let's get started with the show.
Isn't Nick a Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby.
You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room.
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on American soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
How you doing, folks? I'm the American Anchor Baby. It's a pleasure to have you here on a little Tuesday stream, kicking it back in the lab a bit. Getting into a couple of things. You know, it's like these fights are going on, and they're talking about the voting rights and the racism, and on the facts and on these things that are coming up. I have this like general ignorance. Okay, that's not good, maybe, but I have a general view of this whole thing. That is, I mean, to us, it's not controversial. We've been hearing Jesse talk about it and all that. I got fresh callers lately, and they're like, "You are the only one with this way of thinking." And we're questioning what? We're questioning these things, the civil rights itself and all that. So there's a number of things going on with that, and so I mean, there's a number of things going on, and these are. It's kind of like the bigger news I've been meaning to get to, sort of. So we'll see where we could put some of this time and all that. There's a number of other things going on. They're assaulting people over there at TwitchCon. TwitchCon, the women are under assault, and the video looks pretty bad. You might know what I'm talking about. Some lady, streamer girl, getting assaulted, sexually assaulted. Not good. But I had some interesting thoughts about it. Concerning all that world, TwitchCon, streaming, gaming, anime. Is it a men's club? I think you might be interested in like how I've seen it over the years evolve and some parallels you could draw. But we'll get into a number of things today. I appreciate everybody tuning in here. We got the calls open, and you can call in if you got something on your mind, something you want to talk about. That's 844-900-2229. Something on your mind, you can call in. Other than that, we'll get to the super chats and everybody. We got a number of topics. I want to welcome my viewers on rumble.com/AmericanAnchorBaby, punchy.tv/AnchorBaby, and, of course, here on YouTube. How you doing? Where are we flying to today? A common question. It's like your imagination here, right? When we're just like in the constant flying mode, we're flying to. What was in the news recently? We're flying anywhere you want, okay? But welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show. What was I here? I let you know the number. And honestly, look, I was just in the middle. I was in the middle of looking through this, okay? Because I know it came up and it's been in the news. I've been meaning to get to it. And discovering where I'm ignorant. Because the big fight is over. Districting, okay? Gerrymandering and districting. They're saying the Republicans are just, wrong, doing this in the wrong way. They're redrawing maps before time. These are usually done in these, I believe, either 5 or 10 year blocks, right? So they're doing it before time just so they could get more seats in the House. It's even racist, right? Because they're going right up against this voting rights thing. Because the Voting Rights Act makes it, basically says that in effect, you cannot discriminate racially. You can't make a law or district in a way that would weaken and discriminate against minority voters. So it's coming up in Texas. California is responding. You saw this image on the Jesse Lee Peterson show of all these people forming text on a beach. Basically, it said yes on 50. I believe it's Prop 50, but it's something 50. They do props in California. Anyway, it's about a similar thing. It's in fact in the letter of its title of the Prop 50. It is a response to Texas. For the sake of it, right? Come on, Nick, give us the name of the Prop 50 you're talking about. Because they titled it. Here we go. Authorizes temporary changes to congressional district maps in response to Texas partisan redistricting. So it's like a fight. They're going to redistrict their own way. If you get more seats over there, how you're redistricting, we'll redistrict our way. And so that's going on, right? And I come to this tweet, right? I come to this tweet, with this context. I arrived to this tweet. Where was it? Democrats facing a wipeout if Supreme Court guts Voting Rights Act. Now, you might be somewhat familiar there. What is this? Oh, we got a visual glitch there. Don't you worry about that. Where was I? So this is where I was, right? I was just looking this all up. If you're familiar with what this is talking about, there's a Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is basically poised to deal with a certain provision in the Voting Rights Act. If you look at the image, what could happen without Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act? This is the current map of like the South, Tennessee, right? Georgia, Florida. You got these blue blocks all across, right? Then you get a plausible scenario on the right. What happens if you remove this Section 2? It's just like red takeover. Okay? And of course you have to come to like, well, what's the history here? What's the whole thing here on the Voting Rights Act? Because they're saying it's race. They're saying they're wrong for redistricting, and then the other side says they're right. And it comes down to this thing about the Voting Rights Act. So I can admit where I'm ignorant on a couple of things. We're about to look into a couple of things here. I'm sure they're pertinent. But this is my like general thinking of this. I mean, let's start with this. Stephen Miller had posted, how many people just realized that Dems had as many as 20 extra seats based on years of unconstitutional race-based gerrymandering? I'm like, maybe me? Race-based gerrymandering. He's talking about the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which is basically as follows. No state or political subdivision shall impose or apply any voting law in a way that results in the denial or abridgment of the right to vote because of race or color. So basically, you can't make a law that would end up in practice disproportionately, I mean, I want to say harm, but I don't see it as harming, minority voters. And this is like 1965. You take this history and watch far later. I mean, I know this is some kind of basic stuff and all that, but I found some value in revisiting this and for ourselves. We hear Jesse and all that. But consider how you take it in this history. It's like, 1965 voting rights. They had to give a voting rights just to let these people vote. They make it sound like they were just like slaves. They were slaves in 1960. And, there was just like so much racism that they couldn't vote. They couldn't even vote. They were already free in voting. Okay. And I know the educated wants to say, well, no, but there was still discrimination and all that in that time. But if you know anything about all the lies that have been said, because consider, look, this is the lie that endures today. That this specter of racism has put you in this position that you're in today, either lower wealth and all that, criminality, etc. That that history is still affecting you in that way, right? That, to summarize, the standing of the minority continues to be negative due to this. That's not true today. And you might want to say, well, but they were discriminating back then. That's why they needed the law back then. But consider they say the exact same thing. They say the exact same thing, the exact same way. MLK's lie endures. I know that many of you are very familiar with Chatto Jackson and Uncle Tom. You know, I'm not doing a good job of remembering what they were saying, but so you're familiar with MLK not being that cool, but so you know it's basic. But yeah, his lie endures. He wasn't. This good guy. He wanted to keep people in that belief of hate, of blaming, right? So the vote. So my questioning, right? If this specific scenario right or wrong? I mean, maybe we'll find out here in a moment. We got calls and all that. And I want to get to everybody. 844-900-2229. In fact, my callers who are in queue, you are suddenly hearing my voice. You are wondering what is happening. I hear you. Thank you. We'll get to you. So I want to get to my calls. We might figure that out. I got an article here I want to get through with all of you. I think would be very informative. So I don't know if this scenario, like what's exactly wrong or right here. My questioning comes from the whole questioning of the whole darn thing. You have to discriminate against these other people, the whites, the people that are not with it, to have your voting rights. It's just like either you discriminate, sorry, I'm bumbling through that one. Just put it like this. You see how they had to use the tool of discrimination to impose this whole thing in the first place at a time when they were already free and all that. Yes, it was like this fight, but it seems like the losers won. The losers who are like, it's somebody else's fault. And that's what 1965 was. And it has endured. So yes, we can question it. So voting rights, blah, blah, blah. So imagine that for a moment, right? Removing Section 2 would say that, well, you can then redistrict in a way that would result in, you still can't say, well, we're going to make it black only or white only or something. But if you're in your redistricting, if it ends up with minorities losing seats, it's not automatically racism. And that's what's part of this Voting Rights Act. It's this assumption of racism. Just a little bit here, I think. The results, the courts use what's called a results test, to determine if something violates Section 2. The history of racial discrimination in the area. So it says you don't have to prove racist intent, only that the law results in discrimination. Judges consider the history of racial discrimination in the area. And what could that be? That could be just people wanting racial discrimination could just be, again, like this standard, results based. If you have more blacks getting jailed here and more arrests in the black area, that's considered racial discrimination with these people. If it's results based. Whether minorities have less opportunity to participate in the political process. So it's like, where are all your black leaders in the government? Whether voting is racially polarized. Have you been in America in any of the last few years? Stop making it racially polarized. Anyways, look, the racial polarization was the Voting Rights Act. So, I was getting myself a little refresher here for myself, kind of some basics here maybe. It's controversial for some. But yeah, I mean, this was an interesting thing they brought up. J.D. Vance as well. Essentially, New England's 6 states vote about 40% Republican, have 0 Republican representatives in Congress. Now, some say it's because the Republicans in these states are so spread out, similarly like in maybe other areas, that it's hard to draw a single contiguous district for these people. And, and then, of course, they're arguing, no, that's because of, gerrymandering the other way. They're claiming the gerrymandering for the Republicans, it's all undue, but it's been race-based gerrymandering since the Civil Rights Movement type deal. So, kind of informative for me a little bit. Okay, I know a lot of you are very smart. Okay, I'm an anchor baby. I'm like Oh, let me Google that. I forgot, or I never knew. Okay, I'm a screen anchor baby. You want to get mad at me? Okay, I'm sorry. By the way, in the spirit of berating, I just was reminded to berate all of you, and I do with love because it's chaotic times, and you may not even realize what you're doing. And this is what the thing about society. You give each other a little nudge. Okay, it's like, don't you see they're stabbing people out there in the streets? Are you with that, or are you with civility? Click the like button. Don't be rude. You coming in here. We all see you. Thank you very much. So click the like button. Don't be rude. Leave a little comment. Tell me what you think. I want to get to my calls. 844-900-2229. We're filling up here. Let me see. Let me not move too fast. So yeah, voting rights. Don't go anywhere, callers. I'm going to get right to you. I want to wrap this up. Because what else did I have here? Like, I was going to go through some of this about this Section 2 being under attack, according to good authority. Last week, the Supreme Court heard oral arguments about a key component of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The court's rulings indelibly shaped the contours of black political representation. Particular case centers on Louisiana's congressional maps. The case revisits the constitutionality of racial gerrymandering, which allows states to draw cohesive and geographically compact districts that contain a minority population. And so, see, see how in effect that could be just right gerrymandering against the white man, but you would never see it that way because you just can't be. They can't be racist. They're still the perpetual victim. This initial sin, this original sin, this blood libel original sin of racism is still so, I guess, enduring. I almost question because I see the younger generations thinking a little different, but that's a terrible thing. That's what people are fed up with. Oh, does a little gerrymandering here and there and like whatever legal, whatever political, I don't know, whatever political tools and hoodwinks you're doing, I don't know. It's the core thing here. It's not working. Okay, I never hit like it keeps my algorithm pure. I respect that, Kevin. I'm the same way until I had to like really start collecting news and stuff. But don't be like Kevin Howe. Don't be rude. Don't be like Kevin Howe. Click the like button. But I respect it. Being a ghost on the outside, like you can't know what I like Instagram. You're never gonna know. That's the mentality I had. What you don't know, Kevin, is they already got you. You think your algorithm's pure? You think your algorithm's pure, Kevin? No, you gotta like have a baby, home birth, and like make it a ghost. Never give it an account. And make a ghost baby not in the system. But you're connected. You're a cyber baby like one of us, Kevin. No, I'm messing around with you. We got distracted there because look, this was not that interesting. We did I had my thoughts about it. Okay, it's like 1965 all over again. I think we get some of that. But yeah, let people order themselves how they want. How about that? Okay, 0 representatives. We did that. Also, take this one in. Just a little, whatever. Is that deep? Am I stretching something here? What do you think? This is from Base Torba, Andrew Torba. Doesn't he run Gab? Wonder how Gab is doing. U.S. counties where the non-Hispanic white Americans is 90% higher. Where's the minorities in America? Which one? I forget. I'm starting to forget. Wait. Hold on. I'm just being very simple. Look, I could look into the stats, right? But I'm just looking at this. I'm like, which ones are the minorities? Who are the minorities that need protecting in America? I forget. But anyways, look, I got people here. They want to talk. They want to get on air. How you doing, Terry? Welcome. Nice to see you in the chat. Chase, Jeff. 844-900-2229. And I want to get to SoCal here. We got Justin, SoCal. Thanks for your call. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Nick.
Yeah.
My question just focuses on like a casual inference. Is the short-term political gain, quote unquote, from Prop 50 scientifically justified if the action, if the action of doing so itself negates the independent, non-partisan process, the very system designed to like prevent the political problem in the first place?
Say that again for me.
So like, by
I'm slow,
focusing on the short-term political gain, quote unquote, like a gain for doing this redistricting from Prop 50 in a logical way, does it justify if the action itself negates the independent, non-partisan process? You know, the
and what's this process like voting?
To make it like balanced and fair, you know?
Well, I mean, that's kind of been the topic, I guess, so to speak, about Trump, right? That's the claim. He's destroying democracy, the system. I don't think they care. I don't think California cares. That's the name of Prop 50. It's a response. It's in the title. It's a response to Texas's redistricting. So they're saying, yeah, we're gonna fight. And so I don't know about it being fair or them even caring about that. But they have a different standard. Their thing is, their fairness is like race and all that, and the minority or whatever.
Yeah, like nobody cares about nonpartisan, fair process, natural type selection. Like people choose where they live, and where they live, they want representation. No, they want to redistrict it based on race. Race districts is illegal. You know, like I'm sure somewhere in the law it says you can't have a district composed of races that you break down, because everyone knows that whites are a minority, first off. And if Trump represents white people, what is that about? That doesn't make sense. He's the president of the United States. So dividing us into different districts based on race is the problem, not political people. You know, like not if Texas wants to politically redistrict itself to align so it can win. That's politics. But race is what I'm talking about. That just sounds
artificial. And who's doing that? Who's doing this race?
The supporters of Prop 50. They're the ones saying, okay, well, we got some views and political views and all that, but no, we want to district it based on where people live and focusing on the race so that they're represented equally or something.
I'm not that familiar. I don't know those details about Prop 50. So they're talking. So Prop 50 is about race. You know, I thought it was like
redistricting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on the minority, so that they can get the majority. You know, like they're looking at politics and viewing it as a race. Okay, so the blacks are here, the browns are there, the yellows are here, the reds are there. What? It's artificial. It's like if you're in a kindergarten class and you have like a group of people and you're basing it on blue and red or whatever. If you're adults and you're educated on the laws, the politics, the policies that could help your society, has nothing to do about your race, maybe socioeconomic, maybe it has something to do with education. But yeah, people that have more earning power, higher educated type people, doesn't matter your race. That's just a certain class of people. But socialism does that. Or communism even does that. It breaks people by class, those who have and those who don't have. So that's all they're doing, is saying, oh, you guys have too much, so we want more, so that it's fair. And that's artificial. And that seems non-partisan. I mean, it doesn't seem partisan. It seems partisan. It doesn't seem non-partisan. And therefore, they're making their claim that they need to balance it out, you know, make it equal. You can't quantify it in a scientific way like that. It's not like you can do it to win, and they may not like it. Going, oh, you changed the districts, fine, but did you do it on race and some illegal preference? Then like if you did it that way, then yeah, that's illegal and that should be disrupted and destroyed. But if it's not like that, and it's based on whatever people's beliefs and views and aspirations are on their politics, then so be it. Let the chips fall where they may. Everyone wants a better life, and they feel they can get it in a certain political party. Great, but just saying, oh, you're this race, that means you're part of this group. You're just the blues now. You're the red. You're part of your race is that. Oh, okay, that's you over there. Nah, like they have it all screwy, and they have lines all driven, kind of like how in the old days the racist people were. The KKK and all these people trying to promote their race so that they could have dominance. They're doing it in an artificial way, and they're acting like the KKK. I would say. So no, on 50, don't support that.
So I'm gathering your like initial point of they're eroding this a sort of natural system for their own political gain, destroying our system in a sense. It'll be worse down the road, and you're also and also the point you're making about just being wrong to district by race. So I'm following that so far. I just want to clear something up really quick about Prop 50 as we're talking about it. I'm voter guide and all that. Just to clear something up about Prop 50, essentially what they're doing is they are redistricting and redrawing maps, but not just like willy-nilly. They just they have projections, okay, for 2026 and 2030, and they're basically redistricting their maps in that way. They're like looking at the projections and saying, okay, we'll just redistrict like that, and it's in response to the Texas Republicans and their redistricting and all that. They're saying they did it early, etc., and they have other reasons. But that's what Prop 50 is, and it's an interesting thing about race. Race is still involved, I think, because consider this. When you project California, right, with a place, we already know a place with all this immigration, you got the illegals, you got the displacement of whites, the birth rates, etc. I mean, yeah, you want to project further into California, you're going to get bluer, I guess. I mean, that's just obvious. But just to clear that up, Prop 50, I mean, they're not saying, it doesn't look like I don't see anything where they're saying, like, we're making this about race, let us do race. But look, these people do agree with the Voting Rights Act and all that. They agree with this whole original sin, basically, and that the minority, their voting district should be protected, which it's looking like that actually discriminates Republicans. So that's clearing up all that. And, I want to get back to what you were bringing up, but, interestingly enough, wrong to district by race. Now, yep. You're saying the California Prop 50, they're acting like the KKK wanting to district by race. I just want to get into that a bit. I don't know where to start, but why is it wrong to district by race?
Well, you have a United States congressional district, you have Senate districts, and you have assembly districts, and even state board of equalization districts. Their founding and their purpose, I should say, hasn't been rooted in race. So by doing that, it negates the whole purpose of having it. Like, do you know about the CRC? The citizen, CCRC, I believe it's called, the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. It's a 14-member civilian body responsible for drawing boundaries, like human-made boundaries for the electoral districts. So I know a little bit about civics. I don't know a lot about how the electoral class works and all that, but somehow a few people can decide on how the map looks so that you're representative. So I don't know. Does that mean you move out of that area to go to a place where you can get the representation, or do you stay where you live and try to fight for a change? I don't know, but somehow the 14-member coalition group here, the CCRC, they're the ones doing this drawing of a map and redrawing a map and making a boundary and not making a boundary. And if it's clearly based on no race, not even like classism, just politics, great, fine. People of a certain flock, a certain kind of bird flocks with that group of birds. But I believe that is. I believe like it's some type of a trick. I don't know what you call it, but some kind of trick to make it seem like there's already some racist problem going on, and the only way to balance it out is to redistrict the races to align with the power that wants to keep the political power group that wants to stay in power. And it seems totally uneducated, antithetical to the concept of an American system. And I don't know what other country bases it on race. I mean, we have a multicultural group of people, but the thread of unity has to be based on certain American values. And communism is certainly not one of them. Neither is socialism. So we shouldn't be thinking about society on a level like they do. We should be thinking of it as a Republic of the United States, a democracy. And, representation can be garnered by proving your point and doing well by your constituents, but by way of just moving lines around based on color, totally wrong. Not something I support.
So, I mean, the clearest point of what you were saying, essentially, to summarize, if I may, is like you're saying is this districting, this process of districting itself is not originally, it did not have its originality in race. And so injecting that would be, you know, sullying it, would be changing it in a way that's just not good, communist. So I'm following, that's like the most salient thing you were saying. And here's what I was thinking about that, though, because you brought up before to the laws, right? There's a law against that. There's got to be laws against districting by race. But I think about America. Its founding. I mean, it's not even that long ago. Let me back up. I was trying to say two things there. When I was saying it wasn't that long ago, I'm thinking of 1965, and they were still arguing about. And when was Jim Crow? Jim Crow was sometime before that. You know, America was talking about how we should associate or not, and race was involved like in less than 100 years ago. And if I'm wrong on that, someone correct me. And so, you know, so that was kind of what you were saying, and I just don't see that. I mean, what about America and just how they saw themselves? Put it like this. Okay. Voting, the removal of the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which makes it, I was saying earlier, no state or political subdivision shall impose or apply any voting law in a way that results in the denial or abridgment of the right to vote because of race or color. I don't see the removal of that as allowing people to be racist or allowing people to district by race, and that's communist. I see that as letting people do what they want. You understand? And so it might end up with districts that cut off minorities, but it's not. But we're not just going to assume that's racist. We're not just that. That's how I see that. We're not going to just assume that's racist, because it's just not necessarily that. I personally don't believe racism exists, and so that's how I see that. And so how do you see the removal of the Well, if you have any response besides that, but yeah, and the removal of Section 2 and my view of it.
So the 15th Amendment back in 1870 guaranteed primarily people in the South, so that so minorities that can vote, you know, get their rights. That was already established. It's like, why would the VRA Act of 1965, the Voting Rights Act that you're referencing, be something that today needs to be, you know, going further? And I do see it as race. Like, what? Maybe I'm not connecting a lot of thoughts in my mind either, like, to be clear, but I'll go back to the KKK. I clearly remember from my history that in Los Angeles, the Crips and the Bloods, okay, two gangs, were clearly by street divided, and that's what the KKK did. They instituted terror, they instituted all kinds of things for minorities to intimidate them, and so they had to defend themselves. So they had the Black Panthers that led to different gangs, and everybody to protect their neighborhood. It's just so not American. This isn't something from 1870 that now in 2025.
But isn't it in the Constitution? Isn't like the right to freely associate? Because I know you brought up the law. You were saying like it's against the law to racially associate, but before the law, you might educate me on this, sir. But I think those laws came later. No, wasn't a far more original American concept is to freely associate how you wish. I'm not saying let's separate them. And are you saying that if people just want to freely associate it, that's like they're acting like the KKK and the Black Panthers?
No. If they want to freely associate, that's freedom to live where you want to live. But if you're like predominantly in the South of all one particular race and you're not able to vote because of they had polling taxes, they had literacy tests, it needed to be corrected. So in 1964 there was a 24th Amendment, and so the VRA challenged the use of the state and the local elections to kind of I don't know if Lyndon Johnson is even a good president to talk about, because he said he was going to be having the blacks vote for his party for the next 100 years. He's a super racist guy, But I don't know, like that. He's the progenitor, or he's like the significant president that gave us the civil rights. And so nothing changes because civil rights are there and voting laws are in place for the formerly slaves that became free. No, we're talking about this is how I look at it, how they allow illegals to vote, how they allow people to enter a residence and have rights the same as an American citizenry. That's who's voting for the Democrats. So if they're going to redistrict anything, it's to benefit them so that they can get more illegal to vote. Not, now we're going to help the blacks out so they can vote. That's the 60s we're talking about. In 2025, they can garner more votes, more influence by going, and it's not just one country that's illegal. There's lots of countries that have their people leave and they come here without permission, that aren't educated in our system, that don't have the citizenship, that don't have the residency established, didn't take any tests. So that's the only thing that would apply. First, get legal, become aware of our civics, the way our system works, and support it. This isn't socialism. See, that's what Europe has been corrupted by. America is being divided right now, and that's how they're being able to be conquered. So I think America's in big trouble because they see one group doing certain tactics and certain political things, and then they're going to do the same type of thing, but they're going to try to equalize it based on race. And they're trying to get people to be all up in a like whoever's paying Prop 50, I don't know. Whoever the ones that wrote the bill, I don't know. But there's people that are behind it because clearly they'd like to balance things out the way that they see fit, and that's not nonpartisan. That's artificial.
Interesting, man. Well, I appreciate your call on this. Stuff to think on, sir. But
I appreciate
it's
you
definitely
talking about
not.
it too and bringing it.
I don't think they're thinking fairness. That's for sure, sir. Or any sort of right, any sort of democratic process. Sir, appreciate your call, man. Can you call me again?
Thank you. Bye.
Nice. Eight 844-900-2229. We got more calls. We're filling up here. Thank you for that. We'll get to you. Gerrymandering. Jerry, stop it, Jerry. Why? Jerry. How much can I talk about Glock full auto before I get in trouble? Like, am I allowed to show, like, sear pin mechanisms? Am I in trouble? Am I going to jail because I said sear pin? AI won't even tell me that. AI refuses to tell me that. Too bad, I already knew it. They're discontinuing Glocks. We got some viewer content here, man. Is Carver in the house? Do away with the Second Amendment. Ike, that sounds just like you. Isn't that your purview? Well, Nick, if we want to change the voting rights, we should remove protections for hate speech. It's protected by the First Amendment. There's no such thing as hate speech. The very existence of hate speech is an affront to free speech. We're doing basics. (844-900-2229). Calls right after this. Thanks for the patience. We won't be long. It's from Carver here. They're discontinuing Glock.
Breaking news. It's shocking news, and quite honestly, hard to believe because I just heard this from a very reliable source. That as of November 30th, Glock is going to discontinue all models, Gen 3, 4, 5, everything.
Terry Mandrick, sorry.
Except for the slimline guns, are going to be discontinued and replaced with what they call the new V model, Glock Model V. Pretty crazy, right? Now, Glock says this is all about an improved trigger and improved slide. But the reality of it is these changes will prevent the Glock from accepting a switch that will convert it to full auto. So that's
the switch.
All about. And it's happening, like I said, in about 30 days.
Switch on them.
The new Glock V model will be available only as a non-MOS gun to start. That's what we understand. And we've seen that there are some Glock 19 V models. There's also a Glock 19C V model, 19X V and all that other stuff. So they're coming. And it's pretty crazy because, you can imagine that there's going to be some panic going on here because all the guns, the Gen 3, the Gen 5, all the double stack Glocks are being discontinued.
Wow.
Except, like I said, the slimline models. And it's shocking, and it's something that you've heard first right here on Glock Store.
So, I don't even know why I'm saying wow. I don't have a Glock, okay? You don't know what I have, okay? Psh. But they got the switch on them. Y'all familiar with the switches? They're discontinuing, so you can't put switches on them anymore. So what's a switch? What in the haze is a switch? 43X.
What's a switch for a Glock? Good question. A switch goes right here on the back plate of the slide. The reason I don't have one on this Glock is because they're illegal. So you cannot own them and you cannot put them on your Glock because
wait, what?
If you do, you go to jail.
I don't have a Glock on I don't have a switch on this Glock. You can't put it on. It's illegal. What's this video, bro?
You cannot own them and you cannot put them on your Glock because if you do, you go to jail. When you put a switch on this Glock and then you press that trigger, it will go.
It in fact did go. He was in fact correct. In fact, it did go.
That's illegal. If you have a switch on your Glock, don't comment down below because you will go to jail.
That is illegal. So you can't put a little hunk of metal on your hunk of metal. You can't put a little hunk of metal with a pointy end on it that retracts the trigger bar, allowing for continuous operation, which is located basically right there. And you're gonna get mad at me for saying that? By the way, full auto. It's not like how you think. you know, like from video games and stuff. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm not like a big, I haven't shot a whole bunch of guns or anything. I shot some rifles. I shot a Mosin Nagant. Never shot full auto. Where are full auto guys? Do you guys know? You know, it's not what you think. You know, look, this is a full auto Glock. This guy doesn't look like that deezed. He doesn't look that strong. I mean, basically you hold it right, hold it strong, get a good stance. And yeah, you're basically lasering people. That's a handgun. There's no buttstock on that. Look at that. Full auto Glock. Yeah, it's not kicking like crazy. Oh, like in the video games. What about the recoil? Yeah. It's called the Great Equalizer. Okay, these guns. Okay, imagine grandma pulling out Switch 50. Like, no, I don't want no trouble. Look at that. It's like lasers, okay? And the heavier the gun, the less the recoil. You think, oh, it's bigger. No. Now that it's tougher to hold up, that'll be a different thing. You see this? Tommy gun, look at that. Are we like, oh yeah, we already repeated this. So now what you think, pretty dangerous. You put a lot of firepower in those people's hands. And it's one of those things, I mean, it's one of those things where, I mean, I don't know how this will really change for the people who have guns. I mean, this is really just for those people who are putting switches on them. Who's putting switches on them, by the way? I don't know. When I go on social media, maybe I'm warped. Maybe my mind is warped. I'm willing to hear y'all out. Okay, what? Let's just be careful with Twitter here. Elon Musk cares not of what may appear on my timeline. But many of us have seen the many youth.
I told you we don't I told you it's gonna get. We don't play with no regular nigga. On my butter. We do it. Don't play my slide. On folks grade, it will get.
He's graduating.
It's like that. Switchy. No talking. No cap. No talking. Switch game. 3 switches right here. And I put the bitch. That's just enough right there. That's enough. 1, 2, 3. That's enough. Yeah, we don't even get our shit over.
NASA.
I told you we don't play.
Got the switch on them. There's something kind of hardcore about that. Like, if it wasn't so terribly criminal and destroying America and killing people in their own neighborhoods and all that, you know, about just like, I'm gonna defend myself how I see fit and like, you know, like the Constitution and all that. I don't think they're constitutionalists. I'll tell you that right now. I don't think those buddies we just saw are necessarily constitutionalists or anything like that of the sort. But yeah, they're dealing with it. I mean, it's maybe a lawsuit thing too. Maybe they're protecting themselves a bit. You know, I can see a Mamdani coming down, and we're gonna sue Glock for all the switches on the streets. How dare you make a firearm that you made all these black teens shoot up these people? Glock, we're suing you. Yeah, I can totally see that happening. And why? Because the original sin endures. You have to be a crazy nation for all these years to continue on. For you to see glaring examples that this lie of the 1960s, civil rights and all that, is not helping. It didn't work. It's a lie. And you have to be a crazier and an ever crazier and crazier nation to just like force that and make it real. Make your ego real. You have to fall into ever deeper psychosis as like a nation. And it's everybody. Anyways, we got somebody from California on the air. Your name and where you calling from?
Oh man, all them guns was illegal.
Oh, we got William.
All that stuff was illegal.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Those are junior high school kids.
Yeah. You seen that? The video I was showing?
Yep. Future engineers. Good kids.
Yes. Astronauts.
Is that what the mama be saying after you get killed? My son was a good son.
He ain't ever do nothing.
He ain't never did nothing. You know that guy died. Michael Brown's best friend. Remember the guy that started the Hands Up, Don't Shoot? And then they found out that was not true. And they started printing up T-shirts and saying that's not going to work. And then they came up with the lesbians with BLM. What's his name? Dorian Johnson, I think. Yeah, he got it.
I heard a little bit about this, yeah.
Yeah, he did too.
Dies after being shot in Ferguson. Yeah, Dorian.
Yeah.
Dorian Johnson. 11 years after
Dorian
the officer
Johnson.
shooing that sparked this
Dorian
in
Johnson.
Missouri. Wow.
Yeah. Remember, he was going to be the one. Remember that? Hands up, don't you? Remember that?
No. I forget the details.
Remember that? They were saying, they were chanting "Hands up, don't shoot" first before they said Black Lives Matter. Then they said Black Lives Matter, and that one stuck.
Right.
And then a bunch of old black mothers came out of the woodworks, acting like Harriet Tubman and the Underground Railroad. How much you picking on our black kids?
It just endures, man. It's people who want to stay asleep.
They want to stay asleep. And the gerrymandering, it's gonna get done. If you look at the map and everything of how it was in '65 or before '65, did you see how red it was?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It could probably be like that across the country.
Yeah. Well, here's your black news, Ike. That red map had overwhelming number of black people. Ike, I see your little stupid little comment. It was overwhelmingly black, and they had a poll tax in people that had land and owned homes. The black people, the ones that were responsible, that could read and understand politics, they had a poll tax, and they did vote. All that voting right is phony. It's phony. Yeah. They did vote, and they voted overwhelmingly Republican, if you look at that map. And by the way, the KKK was started by the Democratic Party. So what they did is, over the years since then, is they piled up all their constituents, voters in Maine, ghetto, food desert, high crime cities. Then the blacks have a bad history of voting. When they did get their 100% rights in '65, Negroes don't vote.
Right. Okay.
And what is the main thing that they never have when they get stopped by the police?
They're like a driver's license and this normal stuff.
They never have a driver's license. Why do they not have a driver's license? Because half of them are like hyenas and can't read. They can't take the test, or they got tickets, or they got child support, or they're in prison.
Oh wow!
So what they did in these cities is they piled up other constituents from other countries with the illegals. So they said this is a weak party, and it doesn't really represent America as a whole. It's people that actually ain't got no business voting. So now the gerrymandering in their stand, they don't like it, but they stand to lose 14 seats, maybe as high as 20. And they're not liking it.
That's right.
That's all it is to it, man. Your vote don't mean nothing anyway. You're not even voting for the right thing. It's just like before '65, and you had a poll tax, and it was just, now here's the deal. Yeah, it was all the blacks were overwhelmingly red. They also were overwhelmingly, mostly, if not all, men voting. Black men were voting.
I see. Yeah, because now I see
And
it's
a
like
lot
black
of
women.
a lot
are
of
running
them.
all that.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, a lot of them were voting. These men, these families back then, the picture they be trying to, depict of these people, it's really not true. They actually owned all their stuff, and they had the deeds of their properties. They didn't have mortgages. They paid for their stuff.
Wow.
So
It's
did
just
they
flipped.
did they
I
do
see it's the
better?
opposite.
You know what I mean? Did they
Yeah.
do better under Jim Crow when they paid attention to themselves and not being a victim?
You know, I just wasn't there. It's just I hear these things, and it brings these huge questions for me. I mean,
Yeah, you
they-
weren't there, and I wasn't
if
there
those
either.
things you said were true, I mean, absolutely, those are very
You weren't
significant
there.
flips.
What
Hugely
did you?
significant
What's
flips.
the significant thing? The significant thing you just said is you weren't there. Guess what? I wasn't either.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Actually, I'm following now, I think. Yeah. Look how much time has passed.
I seen
Look how much time has
being
passed.
older than you. I at least seen some of those older people being older than you. I at least met them, and they died.
It's
better.
clocking.
And
Yeah.
better. They when they died, they were better off. Their accomplishments in life and everything.
Right.
If you ask a real black person instead of a ninja.
Difference between the two,
Big difference.
as they say, as I've heard.
And they were not all oppressed. Not all of them.
If I did that comedy routine,
Which one?
the Chris Rock one.
Oh,
Is it Chris Rock or
yeah.
is it?
You can do that one, or you can do the Ronald Reagan slap.
What's that?
It don't matter. You remember the Ronald Reagan slap?
No,
Remember,
tell me.
when he slapped Angie Dickinson into her next birthday?
Oh, I do.
Remember that video
Yeah.
we
You
did?
sent that to me. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, blacks were not as in bad situation as people try to point out. And, maybe this is probably part of what they're trying to do, trying to break that spell of the next 100 years that Lyndon Baines Johnson put on the blacks. Maybe they're trying to break that spell because their representation in their cities is really not them anymore. It's the illegals.
That's true.
So, yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They might, and who's really like? How do I put this? Not watching out for him, but yeah, I guess so. Like,
their women are doing it
currently. But let's say when I think of
Mhm.
a Trump, it's like everybody would benefit. The blacks would benefit. Like everybody would be benefiting because it's just like the right mentality.
Yeah. Right now, they are so pissed off. Black women right now are so unhappy and unhinged because they say, "Hey, your 20-year Section 8 plan, no more." And then the new mamas, you got 2 years. So now that's gonna shrink the that system. Not only you gonna not have less, you're gonna have less people on it. You're gonna have less people needed to run those programs.
I see.
And they're gonna get laid off too.
I see it. The cascade.
Yeah, and then the military get all the stupid gay people with blue hair out of the military and all of that nose ring and all that. You gone too.
Bye bye.
And all those monies that we talking about, we always talking about monies, ain't we? All those monies is going to that wall and the new military, and towards these people that were not laid off, that been on the 20-year Section 8 program. You go back to work, so it is a plus for you.
I like that picture. Time to work.
That's how it's going to be. Yeah, go back. Go back. That's all it is. Go back. It won't hurt you.
Absolutely, William.
All right, bro.
William, thanks for your call. Call me again.
I will.
844-900-2229. what was I just thinking about? California. And never mind. Forget it. Let me get to, I think, another William. How you doing, California? On the air.
Hey there. William number 7. Yes, sir. How you doing there, Nick?
All's well, William. Thanks. Go ahead.
Excellent. So, very interesting, you guys, talking about Prop 50. When I went to church this weekend, we had a table out telling us to vote no on Prop 50. And I grabbed a sign thinking that maybe I could stick it in the lawn where I live. And I had to get permission from the landlord. Never heard back from him. Surprise. But I had a question, and shame on me because I did not do this when I got home. But is any I know bills can be big, and I know laws are long, but a proposition, is it a lot to read? Like, if you were to read the whole proposition that we're voting for, would it be 1 page, 5 pages, 10 pages, 20, 100? I'm not sure, because a proposition is something that's being proposed, and therefore it's not a law, right? So they're going to see just how it works out, right?
I don't know.
So basically, should I even put that sign in my yard and support a no or a yes if I have not at least read what the proposition actually says?
Every time I see these prop things, they have them pretty darn easy to read, I gotta say. Now, I'm not familiar if there's some sort of deeper, multi-page full text of this, like how they do with bills and all that. But they have these things that summarize the props pretty well, I think. What your vote yes means, exactly what your yes means on these websites. So it's a matter of being knowledgeable on that, honestly. They tell you what your yes means, and just inform yourself on that. And, it's not that much. It's not like one of those bills. You're not like a representative. They're slapping this bill in front of you with multiple pages. Everywhere I see, these prop things are quite short, Yeah,
okay. I didn't know that. I know a lot of times you're going on your way into Walmart, you'll have people approach you asking if you're a registered voter and you should sign this because we need this, and money will, are you happy with your legislation or something like that? And I'm like, yeah, but do you even know what it says? And when I ask them, they get upset. I'm like, so why are you asking me to sign something and you don't even know what it says? You're just because they're being paid, I believe, to get so many signatures, if I'm not mistaken. So it's just, to me, I just think it's all smoke and mirrors, perhaps. And again, I know a proposition. I've known about some that went to pass, and then it still falls apart, even though it gets passed. And then, and it's just, So I don't know.
That's like another thing, though, right? You're bringing up like another thing, though, right? I've heard of other huge ones that happened in California's history, where the vote of the people was essentially ignored and denied. No, wasn't Prop?
They turned it down, but they came up with another way to get it done.
Right? What was it? Which one was it? I think wasn't there a prompt in California involving
I was talking about
gay marriage or something like that?
Yeah, it was Prop 8. It got turned down because people came out and still thought it was not right, marriage between a man and a woman to produce a kid. But then they figured out a way to somehow subvert that, and I believe it was very tricky. I don't know, maybe because the Democrats got in office. And I remember because we had a big lightning storm and all Northern California got caught on fire up in the northern part near Oregon. And I remember that. I remember that distinctly. And so I forget what the date that was, but it was supposedly broke all records of lightning strikes in 1 hour or 2 hours or in a night.
For real.
But there was fires up in and I forget, but it was connected to Proposition 8. I just don't know what way. I don't know if it was, because I know Proposition 8, we were told to vote. I forget if it was yes or no. It was a long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
So
that is insane.
Anyway,
it seems like they went totally against the will of the people, but I'm gathering it was basically like a federal court thing. It came down
Yeah, maybe some. Well, no, because I know it was state of California. I know because my pastor was he kept himself abreast of that stuff, very much so, and he would tell the whole congregation, and he wouldn't say this is what you vote for. He would just say, this is what it's saying. This is what they're trying to get done. And so he told us to vote biblically. What would God have us do? And that's how he framed it. But I just remember, just when even we had a petition brought to me, and I wanted to read the whole thing. And when I literally read it was 5 pages, and it took a good half hour to really read it because they use words I don't use every day. So you really got to be careful when they start throwing in a lot of adjectives and one could reverse the other because it's called legalese, and if you're not a lawyer, you got to be careful. You can get tripped up a little bit,
Totally.
They call it lawyer talk, And I didn't know if you know that the Black Law Dictionary is different from the regular dictionary. They purposely reverse a lot of definite. The Black Law Dictionary that lawyers use and the legal system use. It's actually, you got to be careful because the definitions are not the same in the regular Webster's or unabridged dictionaries. They purposely reverse them, so unless you're in the know, you're not going to know. So yeah, the Black Law Dictionary is different than your regular standard dictionary and terms you would learn in school.
Just flipping it around?
There are some, talk to, if you have a good friend who's a lawyer, he'll tell you.
Interesting, man. I never knew that, William.
I have some classmates that are lawyers, and so a lot of them actually. But anyway, all right, man, Nick, I'm going to let you go. Peace out.
Man, I didn't know that. Thanks. Call me again.
All right, man. Bye.
All right, sir. Lawyer, liar? I don't know. I'll be right back. Hold on. Watch this in the meantime. Is this bad or good? Not my tempo. Is this bad or good? Is he really good? Do you have to be really good to be this bad? All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Bad. You're saying bad. Okay, bad. I think you have to be particularly good to play this bad, though. No groove. He's definitely ruining the dance vibe. Okay, there's nobody shaking. There's nobody chilling and shaking. Okay, no groove. Definitely, he's chopping it up. Everybody, the nerds are in the crowd. Like, okay, get a load of this guy. But nice job there. You know, that one's funny. Here's another funny music thing for you. Kevin Howe. Where are my Tool people at? Where am I? Let's start. You get ready to get your mind expanded. You ready? I know, man. All right, that's enough of that. Okay. Did you guys see this? Did you guys see this one? They're talking about assault. They're calling it assault. Hold on here. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not. Twitter can get nasty. Come on, we got to censor things here. Hold on. Let me make sure we're not showing anything bad here. Hold on. Where did I put the censored one? DoorDash. Okay, censor. Here it is.
That's fucked up.
Okay, but where's the video of her talking? So what happened is there's this DoorDash moment. This DoorDash assault. We're calling it an assault, okay? It's just she's this lady. She works for DoorDash, okay? And the video starts essentially with her dropping off this order. I can't show this part of the video because, you know, basically, well, I can show the censored one and then I can show her talking. That's what we'll do. Let's see if I can find that again. So this is the controversial thing here, right? She arrives to drop off some food, but when she arrives, the door is wide open, and there's some dude, eagle-ified. Okay, is that even censored well? Come on, yeah, that's censored well. Spread eagle.
That's fucked up.
Asleep, passed out. She names him. A man named Austin orders DoorDash, selects the option to have order left at door, sees his DoorDasher, me, has a female name, quote unquote, falls asleep on the couch with his pants and underwear to his ankles and his front door wide open in 59-degree weather. So this is what I see when I have to leave the order, right? It's like, what? Pretty nasty, okay? Sure, you're just trying to work. You didn't have to see all that. You're just trying to do your job, trying to leave some food here. But apparently, this has devolved for this young lady.
Police are open.
This is completely devolved for this young lady.
Hey guys, so DoorDash just deactivated me 2 days after I reported my sexual assault. Hey guys, I just lost my job, and they won't tell me why. They're supposed to send an email immediately after deactivation.
Let's triple check. This video does not have any. Okay.
My sexual assault. Hey guys, so DoorDash just deactivated me 2 days after I reported my sexual assault. Hey guys, I just lost my job, and they won't tell me why. They're supposed to send an email immediately after deactivation providing you the reason why and a link to appeal, and they didn't. So I contacted support, and they made me sit on the phone with them for 50 minutes just to tell me that they can't tell me the reason why, and I have to just go ahead and appeal without knowing why. So my chances of getting my account back, they have my money in that account. I was working! I was literally working! And they deactivated me! This is related. They just punished me for posting about my sexual assault while DoorDashing. They just fired me! And the police are doing nothing! I lost my job! And that was my only way to make money to pay my bills! 3 days ago.
Wow. Whew. She cut it off there. That's just an amazing video. Look at the range. The range of this video. Look. The way her face contorts as the video goes on. Look at this. The range in this. Look how it ends.
My only way to make.
Ah! Oh my gosh. So she's going nuts. You gotta wonder if you're like DoorDash. You know, you get yourself in a tough situation when you got your employee all. Yeah, it shouldn't have happened, and that person should probably get removed from the app or I don't know what. But she went and filmed it. Right now, there's some claims that the door wasn't open and she opened it. I just don't see evidence for or against it. The little screenshot someone tried showing. You're obviously you're not familiar with the lore, but if you end up looking this up, some were claiming she opened the door. They were sharing this screenshot that proves it, but it just looked like a cropped image of the original where it was totally open. Either way, let's say it was just cracked. Let's say the door was just cracked and she could see him, and she opens it to make this big stink. Or maybe it was totally open. You got to see the difficult situation, the position DoorDash is in now that you've posted this video on the internet of this person, and right, like you may have done something wrong there. You understand? And really, my point here, and we'll get to it deeper, is the overreaction of women. Okay, and they got this modus operandi that is in our institutions. It's been institutionalized. This overreaction to the world. Because you got to say, Nick, but what, are you okay with this dude? No. The overreaction is making it far worse. The overreaction is pure evil. Okay, and I've got some examples for you. Hold on. And then we'll get to calls right after this.
3 days ago, October 12, 2025, I was a victim of SA by a DoorDash customer.
SA, you see how they call it sexual assault. Imagine going through life with a different mentality where you just let that. This is a spiritual rule where if you just let things kind of fall off, your life will go great. You can't imagine the good things that will come for you because you set yourself down a dark path by overreacting. Okay, that wasn't sexual assault. It was just maybe wrong what he did. Okay, but you're not assaulted. You don't have to take that with you. Be traumatized. It's just a mere image, a mere memory. That's how men kind of think, which is gone. It's lost. It's just like a spiritual rule. Like you will really live a perfect life, a much better life.
Customer while I was doing my job as a DoorDash.
Look at all the damage she's done to herself.
Driver. Excuse me if you've already seen this. This is my.
She's burning. That's hell coming out of her.
Third time posting this because TikTok keeps silencing me and taking my videos down and giving me strikes. So if I get one more strike, you guys, I'm just letting you know right now my account is going to be banned. So I'm gonna try to word this as chill as possible to avoid getting this video striked. So on October 12, 2025, the DoorDash customer requested that their order be left at their front door. When I arrived at their front door was wide open, their lights were on, and they were sleeping on the couch within eyesight of the front door with their pants and underwear pulled down to their ankles, and they were indecently exposed to me. I got this.
Imagine if she just dealt with this with DoorDash and lived her life, kept going forward. Now I'm not been sexually assaulted. That's a weird creep person. He should be reported and going on with your life.
Video, and I'm not even going to be posting the video clip anymore because I'm pretty sure that's what's getting me the strikes. But yeah, I reported it to DoorDash, and DoorDash did ban the customer. And then
there
2
you
days
go.
later, DoorDash banned me, which doesn't seem unrelated. I appealed, and they were supposed to respond to my appeal within 7 to 10 business days. They didn't even provide me a reason for my deactivation. They're supposed to send an email. They didn't. So I contacted.
Of course, we're just gonna get the minutia and one-sided.
Details, but what?
So that's her, right? This is her. There was another situation that was going viral, and this has to do with the young lady. I think they call her Emiru. And again, it involves this guy that's doing something that's like, isn't really hard to defend at all. I mean, but that's no reason to let go of reality and let go of the manly aspects of life and in society and how to respond to the world and basically give society unto the woman. This is that deep. Allow me to explain, because this gal was at something called TwitchCon, okay, a convention of Twitch streamers. These are a number of them on this platform. You're familiar with it somewhat, and they do this streaming. They're very well known for what they started off as a gaming platform and a bunch of gaming streamers. It's become a number of other things over the years, but it has maintained this deep streamer, internet gamer kind of audience. Okay, you might be also somewhat familiar with some of the, I guess, controversies over the years with female streamers getting a lot of attention on Twitch for merely showing boobs and being very sexual and all that, and flouting very close to Twitch terms of service. I bring it up because it paints a better picture for you for what we're going to get into here. So here's the video of the assault, okay? And now this young lady, I have not heard her call it sexual assault. I have not heard her call it that. But I'll let you decide upon looking at the video. Now look at the internet calling it sexual assault. Complex Pop and others. This is and look, full video of the sexual assault. This individual, Craig, calls it that. Now, this is Emiru at this TwitchCon, where you see people milling about. It looks like you see maybe what could be security or officials of some sort. But people are milling about. They're meeting her. They're talking to each other. And so this is the moment, the assault. An individual basically walks right up to her and tries what looks like trying to kiss her and hug her.
Whoa.
Just watch that again.
Whoa.
Very weird, right? I mean, he goes up to her, looks like he grabs her up, brings his head down, which looks like a kiss, an attempt at a kiss. She claims it is. Sure looks like it, and finally somebody, security here, whatever, she says it's her security, not Twitch's security, gets a clue and pushes him. This other lady comes in and carts Emiru away. Look at this guy just standing there. He's like, okay. He's not even looking. He looks away from this. What's going on here? Oh, he's like looking for the picture, I guess. He's still posing for the picture, not really. This guy literally walked right in front of you. How unaware or how socially boxed in right in your own little world do you have to be? So they push him off. Emiru gets carted away, and that's the situation, okay? Now her response here is essentially, so she writes a response about this. She says, "Hello everyone, I'm okay. Thank you for all the kind messages. Can't respond to them all. Yesterday the man who assaulted me was allowed to cross multiple barriers at TwitchCon and even in front of another creators, meet and greet and grab me in my face and try to kiss me. Fortunately he wasn't able to, but a lot of people have pointed out it could have been worse. Obviously shaken up by what happened. It's not the first time, but to tell you honestly, I'm a lot more hurt and upset by how Twitch handled it. Like I said, I understand how he was allowed to make it to me in the first place. The security in the clip who reacts is my own security. However, there were at least, it's true, my favorite and usual security guard was banned for holding a stalker's arm to bring him to police at a past TwitchCon. However, there were at least 3 other TwitchCon security staff in the area who did not react. Let the guy walk away. The woman who is walking me away is my own personal manager. My friend who was present at the Twitch security were also behind the booth, joking about how they didn't even see what happened and immediately laughing and moving on. No one was checking if I was okay. Twitch's statement said the guy was immediately caught and detained. She says otherwise. It was only from pressure from her manager they finally did something. I have a lot more to say, blah, blah, blah. Thank you guys, blah, blah, blah. It saddens me to say as a 10-year off and on attendee of TwitchCon, blah, blah, blah. It should be safer, she basically says. Okay. Yeah. I think we can agree that guy was acting crazy. I'm not going to sit here and say, I have some questions about the sexual assault thing. Oh, you want to call it sexual assault? I didn't see her calling it that. In fact, personally, I think Emiru's response is kind of fair and it's not really for just like a normie person as I see her. I don't really think it doesn't really come off as totally overreacting or anything. She understands that people are crazy and you just need security. Where's Twitch? Where are you guys? Why are you guys just milling about like you're having fun? Anytime people are walking towards the VIP, you got eyes. What's going on? But this stands because it's so quick to be able to say, oh, this is wrong. It's like assault. What's wrong with women? What, they're attacking women? I see that they're calling it sexual assault. And again, this is just from the earlier thing about overreacting and the common response here. That was this situation. It was wrong. But don't turn it into sexual assault, this attack on women. I mean, that's an overreaction. It's a spiritual thing. You're going to have a worse life. You're not going to see things clearly. Overreacting like that. And a little side thing too, another little point, and then we'll get to my calls here. Another little point, because I'm not here saying she should be assaulted. But I'm thinking about gaming, Twitch. I'm thinking about anime conventions, gaming conventions, videos I've seen. Allow me to describe this, because I remember driving down Santa Monica and looking at a billboard here in LA, here in Los Angeles. And the billboard was an advertisement for an adult film convention. And all sorts of images came to mind. Some sort of seedy convention. So gross. All these porn stars, they call them, all there milling about with their fans. All these guys who want to pay money to see their favorite porn star. It's just like, I get these images. It's just like so seedy. But then I'm thinking about these anime conventions and stuff. You got to understand, I'm sure maybe at some point gaming and all that was like a boys thing, a men's thing. The conventions, the anime conventions, the gaming stuff, the meetups, it's like a men's thing. Women have totally taken over all this. I don't know if you've seen it. If you look at any video of these anime conventions, it's girl after girl cosplaying. Oh, they're just doing some cosplay. It's so they dress it up as this benign and this little thing. They're like, they're just a cute cosplay, and they're like naked, and they know what they're doing, which I'm not saying is inherently wrong. I mean, it's just they know what they're doing. They're getting this male gaze and attention. How do we get all these guys? Click my Instagram, and guess what? More often than not, you click into their profiles, and it's some OF girl. It's some OnlyFans girl. So a prostitute. Like some a porn star / prostitute. These OF girls aren't always just doing little videos. Look, whatever. So it's like you're at an adult film convention at these anime conventions now. And how did that happen? With the women. That was like they're doing. They had Gamergate, right? When they came down on the gamers like right before Trump 2015, and they said gamers are misogynist and all this. And it's basically been there was some fight back then. Like, no, we're not going to be SJW, but that happened back then. It's not like I go to these conventions or anything, but then I look and I'm like, let's check in on the conventions, on the gamers, how they doing. And women rule. They turned it into a porn convention. They're getting stepped on. And yeah, they're part of the problem. They like it or whatever. And it's sick. It's disgusting. And it's like women, they did that. And you want to think, where do these men that assault women, that are sexually crazed, that it's just like they're just socially they got problems, they don't know how to talk to women. They've made women their god. Let's be real. They made women their god. And they can't act right with their god that rules them. Where does that come from? The women have creating that. And they just don't see it as a problem. You bring it up, it's manosphere. You guys are just a manosphere red pill guy. You're just like, they judge. It's like, so women are doing nothing wrong? Come on. Where do those men come from? They come from that feminine world, this mindset they've put there. I'm not blaming Emiru for this guy that came up to her like that, but I am bringing that up. Don't you think that's interesting? Debasing men and creating these weirdos. Okay? The mama spirit, rampant. And you just look at the final little the little end result. You see a rapist, weirdo, and you're like, what's wrong with men? Like, yeah, that's obvious what's wrong. We can see it. Look at him going up to her, trying to kiss her. Like, but there's more. You find it interesting? I think it's finding it interesting. But we got callers. Look, we got callers and all that. I want to get to my calls here in the last bit of the show. 844-900-2229. We got Rhode Island, I think, on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Yes. Hey, Nick. My name is Ben.
What's up, Ben? Thanks for your call.
Hey, thank you. Listen, I wanted to pick up on something actually related to what you're talking about there.
Nice.
And see what you think about it. So in society, I think we have oftentimes things that happen maybe for a reason initially, and then you later on find that there are what are often referred to as unintended consequences. So, for example, like the civil rights movement may have been an attempt to help blacks, but later on you might say that it had the opposite effect, though it wasn't the original intention. Follow me?
Totally. I'm following.
Yeah, you could go through lots of stuff like that. But also,
I may not necessarily agree, but I'm following.
Yeah, I'm saying you could just make this theory. You could say A happened and B wasn't intended, but 20 years later we find out, boom. Also, I think there's a phenomenon in society when we do something, again, for a certain purpose, that nature will reassert itself, especially when we do something artificial. So, for example, if a government really wants to control prices and distribution of goods, a black market will occur, like in America during the Prohibition period, right? You try to say, like, no alcohol. I used to live in Providence. I lived right across from where the mafia used to run rum because they couldn't. It's sort of a natural, like nature will reassert itself. You know what I'm saying? So if people want something or smuggling occurs, like I'm sure in Gaza, there's tons of smuggling right now. You have to, if there's an artificial attempt to keep something from happening, it's going to happen in a funny way.
I'm following the concept.
And you can't really stop that. Okay.
Like people, like it's like, oh, we're gonna have diversity. You can't segregate, etc. And yet people naturally end up kind of like in enclaves and separated racially, kind of thing.
Exactly. We all have to live together in Memphis. So then the whites just move to the suburbs of Memphis and leave Memphis.
There
right.
You go.
Something like that. Right. So there's a way in which we'll find a way around stuff, and that's not necessarily bad, but it's not great. But it's not necessarily bad. So I wanted to talk about this in terms of the sexual revolution, which I think was a double revolution, which is like, sexual freedom, but also feminism came in at the same time, which is, I think this is an example of where that's a problem. I mean, if you want to sexualize yourself, but then you also say, like, I'm a victim of that, you run into problems of how do you navigate that? Because if you're inviting it, you can't really control it as easily as you might think. But especially I wanted to talk about this in terms of the dynamics that I see. I'm a Gen Xer. Okay, I have 6 kids. And I've seen this funny dynamic that I think people have seen bits and pieces of, but I think it fits together in that Gen Z girls have this strange attraction to men who are way older than them, right? Which I do think makes a certain amount of sense in the sense that fathers aren't really doing their jobs for their daughters, and so their daughters are left looking for a father figure. I think you can see that seems to be what's going on, and that's a phenomenon that I witnessed personally, but also it's well known. On the other hand, Zoomer boys, because they've been sort of emasculated, seem to have, and I was very surprised to find this, a real desire to have a relationship with a woman 20 or 30 years older than them, which again I think comes from like a mommy sort of thing, right? So that like I see it over and over again, especially I'm a streamer on the internet. I'm not streaming right now. But
okay, thank you.
You just see this phenomenon. You see everything on the internet like first, you know what I mean? And it's like, wow, it's just like every Zoomer guy is like, I want to date someone 20, sometimes 50 years older, to be honest. So, so what I'm saying is, is there a way? Yeah, grandmama. So, is there a way in which nature is kind of asserting itself, where, in a sense, you see how it would kind of like seem to work out that like the younger girls, the Gen Z girls, are going to get together with Gen X guys, sort of father figures. And not that I'm saying this is healthy, but that like the Zoomer boys are going to end up with Gen X women. You follow me? Like
I'm
their
following.
mother's generation.
Yeah, I mean,
because within Gen X, this is the first I think you're probably millennial, but my generation was the first generation to not initially experience the sexual revolution, but to be born into we were born into feminism and pornography. You know what I mean? Not as much as later, but like it was there. And people in this, like I grew up in the 70s. The 70s were notorious for like wild sexual experimentation, but also feminism.
Gotcha.
And so that set up my generation to not be able to get along like men and women don't get along. And so we ended up following our parents and getting married, but those marriages are exploding. Yeah, and if they're not exploding, they're often horrendous, which I think, you and Jesse Lee Peterson have said, like a lot of these marriages, the man has surrendered to the woman
it's an
long
abomination.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can understand why that is.
I see
and
it.
you can understand the appeal of, let's say, a man like me saying, wow, if Gen Z girls who are beautiful, and I've had this experience, but beautiful young women are interested, which I'm very surprised by, and they tend to hate their mothers, like you can see how that would be very appealing. You know what I mean? I'm just okay. So and generally, all these individual things are seen as, but don't you see that there's going to emerge this new kind of dynamic in our society, which would be really strange, but I don't see how unless we pull back from this, I don't see how this isn't going to happen, because people like me, I don't look at pornography, but a lot of men my age do. And what are they looking at when they want to look? They're looking at Gen Z girls, if they can't, right? That's where they're being oriented. And the Gen X women all want to look like Gen Z girls, and they're trying to do plastic surgery, but they're ending up despairing of it, and they just want to be validated by someone else, right? So I'm just curious what you think of that analysis and where that would go, because I think nature is going to reassert itself in a way that's going to totally shock our, society. And I think it's all the result of perversions, but maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, hearing you say this, I mean, I just don't know if I'd call it like nature reasserting itself. I know it's just a matter of we're just using words to describe these things we're thinking of. I mean, I just said just that in that spirit, I don't know if I'd use those words. It's just people reacting, and I don't know how deep that goes or how rampant, rather, this is. But I kind of see what you're saying, I got to say, to some degree.
Yeah.
I see this.
I'm saying if nature doesn't...
But call it this. Like, I see them going to their proverbial mother and father in their dating life and all that.
Yeah.
And in a more like exaggerated way too. So I think I kind of see what you're saying. Yeah. Now I'll say this though too, as I'm hearing that, it's like another lie on top of another lie. Because think about it, these women would be going around, if either consciously or subconsciously thinking to themselves, I'm going for him because he's just older. He'll really be the dad I need. It would be a lie.
Right.
It would be another mistake.
Yes.
It would be another man that does not know how to. It would just be another mistake. These guys you're talking about, Gen X, it's like it didn't work out. You think they're going to be the father figure they needed? That's not how that works. They already had their dad, and that time passed. They're not little girls anymore, and they must go to the father just like a man should. And that's the thing that they'll either do or don't. When we're talking about marriage and all that, we really have turned an institution that is supposed to be about order into an institution about feelings. Okay, so, does this person fulfill me? Is this the love of my life? That has its own place in like a more practical way. So, just to summarize, I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's like, nature's asserting itself here, and these women are they're getting the father they always needed. No, I just don't think it's like that, And then for the guys, similarly as well, they're not getting the mom they needed, they're getting mama, which is the same mistake. The man, which is the thing the man must overcome from the beginning of time. The mother and the woman.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with you about all of that. I would use the analogy. I don't know if you agree with this, but I think that, for example, homosexuality among males, I think is an attempt to connect with your father when you haven't successfully, for whatever reason, connected with your father. So you look to other men to make that connection, and I don't think it can be successful. So I think that's what you're saying. Like, these things won't work in the sense. I think you'd be a fool.
I'm describing like the lie that we tell ourselves, right? Like it almost sounds nice. It's like, wow, they're getting a father, they're seeking a father, and it's like, in their hell, they might end up doing something good and finding like a good father figure. But it's like, I think that's like a lie. It's like a nice dressed up thing.
Yeah.
When you peel it back, it's actually just another dude with issues, and it's another mistake. You found the wrong guy again.
Right, and as a man, if you were to get into a relationship with that, do you really want to raise a daughter who let's say you were to get married, do you really want to have a wife-daughter, or do you just want to have a wife? Because that can become, do you know what I mean? It's an unequal relationship. But what I find interesting about it is, yes, those are all mistakes. I think these are, like, I'm not denying the actual normal family structure is far superior. But I think it's hard to say like that we're making as a society every move possible to continue destroying it. So, you know what I mean? We shouldn't be surprised when the divorce rate goes through the roof, you know what I mean? And that our sons and daughters do end up doing this. And it's not necessarily so much the fault of the individuals involved, but that like the society as a whole has said to nature, hey, we don't care, you know what I mean? And the consequences, but I'm interested, like, in some ways, if the consequences might wake us up, you know what I mean? In the sense that we have to keep going here until we finally say, like, that was a mistake, because we're currently saying, I think it's been pretty good, you know what I mean? And people are waking up to it, but you get this kind of, you're a red pill guy or whatever. But I don't know. I appreciate you saying, like, you see what I'm saying. I think it's hard to avoid, and I don't think anyone's talking about this, but maybe it's starting to happen with Hollywood celebrities, with these young girls. But that's kind of always been a thing. But I think it's going to start happening much more widely.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But those,
I don't know.
They would just be looking for love in the wrong places, and it's not even because of the age. I'm not even thinking that necessarily. It's just these groups you described, they got issues, and they got and this thought that they're getting. And I know it's hypothetical, but that's a mere thought. Yeah. That's just like another idea. Like I'm going for an older guy because he's a father figure. Like that's thinking of the world. Like. Let me position myself with a correct chance to get a man that's this or that way. It's just thinking of the world, You read it in the Bible and all that about all things being added to you, and that would be crazy to someone who thinks like, who's very close to worldly thinking. You'd be like, what do you mean? I've just got to sit around? It's going to appear? It's like, hey. I'm not necessarily saying that, but you see how that thinking, it's like a worldly person doesn't even want to think about it. They think what you're saying. They want to think about
Could you see it, though, that if a girl says to herself, I just do really sort of, I'm not saying fantasize in it like a bad sense. I fantasize about someone like George Clooney, who's way older than me. Couldn't that be a clue to her that she needs to connect with her father, her actual father?
Yeah, that's why you should leave her alone.
You could kind of redirect it properly.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it's the reason why you should leave her alone.
Yeah.
Because she needs her father. She needs the love of her father, etc. So leave her alone. Let her find it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, men who receive that attention should also redirect that attention to its proper place, because it's going to be a nightmare until we get it right from the beginning. But it is. I don't know if you know I don't know, with this homosexual stuff, it's very hard to do it later when it hasn't occurred in the normal course of things.
Wait, do what later? What is it?
If you were to say, like, this is an attempt to connect with the masculine.
Uh-huh.
At a certain point, like, the ship has sailed, if you know what I mean, and it's very hard to reconnect in your. What's that?
Apologies. help me understand what you're saying here when you're saying the ship has sailed.
Yeah, so I used to teach high school boys, and you could see that some kids, I didn't obviously know anything, but you could see that some kids seem to have this, like, you know, where you say, like, okay, well, this isn't probably a heterosexual kid. And sure enough, 10 years later, you see him on Facebook. I think it's very difficult, even at 16 or 17 years old, to push a kid back into, let's say, you know, connecting with other males, which is the foundation for then connecting with females. Once that hasn't occurred in the natural dynamic of things, which I think happens early on, I'm not saying it's impossible, but I just think it's almost impossible to redirect that, if you know what I mean. But all things are possible with God, and I do think reconnecting with the Father is the key.
But the reason that it's difficult is not because they're just not socialized with men and they didn't have the right it's not because they didn't have the right what's the word grounding formational periods, and that's not because of that. They've given themselves unto this false self. They've given themselves unto this thing that we all get taught, self, and to worship self. I am this. I am this gay person. You know, what happens to a gay person is kind of like the exact thing that happened to a lot of people. They've become quite evil. And it's like when you say, and so how do you undo something like that? It's like, sorry, buddy, you need God. And so it's not like it's difficult because they didn't get socialized with men. It's like it's difficult because what happened to that gay person is kind of what happened to probably anybody who calls me and all that. Have you overcome evil in your life? You'll realize the answer to that is, wow, it's quite difficult by myself here in my own ways, trying to, you know, all my plans and all my little methods and self-help that I've been trying to do my life. It's pretty hard. Yeah, so it's not because you miss-socialize it with men, but go ahead.
You wouldn't say, like, I've also worked with, like, younger kids, and you can sometimes see that this kid is acting like a girl, even at age 5 or 6.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
He's kind of
no,
acting
that's totally
like
fair.
a girl with
I
the
agree.
other girls.
100%. Yeah, I'm not trying to be obtuse on that. I'm not trying to be obtuse on that.
Yeah, you would agree. Like, sometimes there's a kind of setup that has nothing to do with this kid choosing to be that way. It's probably that he's too close to his mother, alienated from his father, and connects with girls, and then they reinforce it. And I've been in situations where I'm like, you should get this kid away from the girls and get him out on the soccer field. And they go, no, it's fun to play bake oven with this boy. Right. And I'm like, well, you know, this is not a good setup for him. But, you know, we all think it's cute to have a kind of feminine little boy. You know, I don't think it's good for him, but you can see how women are like, oh, yeah, we'll just make him our little pet, and we don't care later on. Then he does have the choice when he experiences what will happen, I think, by a twisting of nature, to whether or not to act on it. But he's kind of, you can't just flip a switch and have him now have a normal masculine demeanor. You know what I mean? Like, that is difficult for him to do. Wouldn't you agree? Would you agree? Or is it you just say you just choose?
No, I don't disagree with what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it is too late at that point.
Okay.
And that's why it's like so difficult in a sense. Like, it is too late. Whatever's there is kind of there. I'm following, man. Ben, man, we've talked a little bit around the sexual revolution stuff. Anything else you want to say here or ask?
No, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Interesting
Appreciate
stuff, Ben. Can you call me again?
Okay. I will. Thanks, Nick.
Take care, man. Look at the time. Look at the time going by fast. Incredible. Look, what else? I gotta run in a few minutes here, but let's do this fast. Showing love to the callers. I appreciate that. We'll do the super chats here in a moment. Who do we got from Texas? Hold on, Texas. I'm about to get you on. Hold on. Texas.
Yeehaw, it's John.
Hey, what's up, John? Welcome, sir.
Yeehaw, buddy.
Yeehaw.
Let's go fishing.
Big Tuesday.
How about we go fishing?
Come to
we
Cali,
can just go
take
walk
me
in the
fishing.
woods. Let's just go walk in the woods outside. Touch
I'd
grass.
love to.
All right. What I got from that last call about the sexual revolution, I gathered that there will be a lot of, maybe the women are the ones out of line, but the men are going to take the consequences from it. Whenever the sexes like adjust, nature adjusts. I don't think nature is very fair to men. You know, does that make sense?
I'm following. What do you mean?
Well, the boys are going to become feminized. That's one point. They're not going to go fishing with their dads. They're not going to go to the beach with their dads. They're not going to go outside anywhere with their dads.
Right.
So that's just one point. And then there's going to be the weak men that are in the gamer spaces. And, you know, that doesn't mean that you're weak, that you're in a gamer space, but you can get like addictions to like gambling and stuff from certain games, and that can make you weak. And so there's going to be those guys that are preyed upon by weak women. So there's two things, and I don't see like any women really suffering consequences right now. You know, they're going to get in the relationship and then divorce and jump out because they're unhappy, and men are just suffering that. So I can see like how sometimes the sexes and the nature, I wouldn't say the sexes, but natural nature is like I don't know what to call it, evil. I think most of nature is evil anyway, so it's kind of a good thing that the men aren't like just like balancing there where it's fair, you know, because I think that would be what that guy's last caller, I think Matthew number 7 maybe.
Yeah. You know
what
yeah.
he was talking about. I think that's what he was talking about was that nature and sexes are going to plateau. But I really think we just have to put the women's nature back into place, and then we'll plateau on a new level of consciousness. And then men will be adored as the heralds of the new consciousness. What about that?
Well, I'll tell you this. You know, it doesn't seem like women are necessarily, right, like happy. You know, I see kind of unhappiness in all ways, in all sides. So I think it's like whatever we're fighting about and like all that, like our little feminisms, these isms, everyone is losing. I mean, I'm just thinking about little metrics, the America that once was,
of course,
the families that they were able to create, etc. Sure,
they're not even letting us ride horses around here.
Bit. Right, I'm thinking about stuff maybe.
They ain't letting us ride horses anymore.
And everybody lost that, not just men, women. Right, it seems to me like everybody. You see what I'm saying? Like the left and right can fight and they can quibble, but they're all losers. They're all like, in the sense that they're losing, right, their country, etc. Where it's like,
however, that's not
when
you.
The ship
or
sinks. What's the point of the fight? But anyways, kind of what I was
That's
thinking.
not you or me. That's not you or me because we're rich.
What? In spirit, you mean?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but there's also a Bible verse.
Is that what you're saying?
There's also a Bible verse that says the poor, they have a lot of, their neighbors, even their neighbors hate them. But the rich have many friends.
Yeah, I heard this on the Hank Report. Was it you who brought it up?
Yeah, I might be applying it like far beyond like basic comprehension, but it goes there. But anyways, I just called to say that when the women go back into place, the balance will be struck, a plateau of consciousness will be achieved, and until then, you know, don't really count on the sexes balancing out, because the sex has always been tilted into women's favor. So
interesting, John.
And the people, and now what I'm getting to, actually, the people that are the ones that are that make ourselves enemies, they're going to remain poor, because they're going to be the ones that are nobody likes, because they're taking away the, you know, they're making these rules and they're saying this is how things have to be, you know. But when I say that the rich have many friends, it's because you're stepping onto a new plateau, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna have the women like step up onto a new plateau, and they're not going to like have to be nervous and panicky and scared,
bringing them out of the hell.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is going like into some comprehensive like areas, but we're gonna bring them out of the hell.
I'm gathering what you're saying abstractly there, John. We'll have to talk about it at length another time, man. Can you call me again?
Yeah. So I'll let you go, man.
Big time. John, take care. Call me again.
Yeah.
Folks, man, I'm sorry I can't get to everybody. Virginia, Michigan, bunch of callers. I do appreciate it. But for now, I must go. That's the show. Let's check our little super chats here before we go and all that. Hope you enjoyed the show. We're just chilling today. BuyMeACoffee.com/Anchor, baby. Appreciate it. Somebody or someone with all those coffees. That's very generous. Thank you for that. Jules, how you doing? Everybody over there on Rumble. Very nice. Man, thank you, someone. That is a large amount of coffees, and I appreciate it. And everybody, all my supporters, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow for more American Anchor, baby. For now, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.